Hi, welcome all to this session of print media journalism. So, in this session, we'll be discussing about the major ideas of print media journalism, and mainly we'll be discussing the types of news and news story structure in this session. Okay, so all welcome to this session. So, moving on. So first, we have to know before we study what are the news story structure and all, we have to have a basic idea of what news is and what print media journalism is. Okay, so we know that print media journalism means anything that comes as a news or as a form of journalism that appears in print media, like it might be in the form of newspapers or magazines or flyers or books or anything that is in the form of print media is connected to print media journalism. Okay, so first, the most popular form or even the most oldest form will be considered about print media journalism. We know it's the newspapers. So we have to know what news is, and up to like today, there has not been like a single definition of what exactly a news is, but the journalists have tried to define news, but no single definition has one widespread acceptance. Typical definitions include, so there is no like a typical definition of what a news is, but there are some kind of definitions which might include news is an account of an event or a fact or an opinion that interests people. That is, a news is something that has been happened recently, or it states a fact and that might be interesting to the reader. And the other explanation or other definition that news has is, news is a presentation of a report on a current event in a newspaper or other periodical or on radio and TV. Okay, so it is a presentation of a report of a current event. It might be of a current event and it might not be of a current event even. Like it might be of different other topics. In news itself, we'll see features, different types of news is there. And but when we try to see a definition, we can see that it is a report on the current event and that has been provided in a newspaper. It might appear in a newspaper or in other periodicals like periodicals, or it might be in a radio or on television. Okay, and the other definition is that news is a timely, concise, accurate report of an event. It is not the event itself. So it is a report of the event, not the event itself. So we know that when we see an event occurring, there might be different ways to approach the same news, and in different newspapers we see different versions of the same news. So it's a timely, concise, and accurate report of what has happened of that event, not the event itself. Okay, so this is what we have to know about what a news is. And now we are moving on to find the different types of news. Okay, so we know that there are mainly we can divide the news into two main categories, that is the hard news and soft news. This is not such a difficult topic or anything because we have read these in our newspapers, in our daily newspapers. We read these, but it's just that we have to know what these terms mean. Okay, so coming to hard news, when we say like hard news means it's a serious, factual. See, it's a serious topic, might be factual and timely stories about an important topic or important topics. So this is what we usually read in the first page of a newspaper. That is, it's a serious, factual thing and the timely stories that it might happen yesterday or the day before yesterday, like the timely stories about important topics, and it might describe a major crime, fire, accident, labor dispute, or political campaign. It might be about different topics, but all these topics are of relevance. That is, it's about the major issues that are happening around. It is also called sport news or straight news. That is, it can be like categorized under the term we call like breaking news. It's such a kind of news, and it's also called sport news or straight news. So hard news is the one which is called as sport news or straight news. And coming to soft news, it actually is features or human interest stories. These are like articles, features or human interest stories are part of soft news, not the like contemporary relevant issues or the issues that has happened like a day before or something. It might be like a feature, something. It might be old stories or like unimportant stories, but they are never dull. It kind of excites the reader to know about the topic, but it is never dull. But it might not be about the topic that is happening around that during that time itself. So the topics may be old and unimportant, but it'll never be dull, and it appeals to the reader's emotion rather than to their intellect. While reading features or articles or such kind of soft news, it appeals more to the emotion of the readers rather than their intellectual capacity. So it doesn't question their intellectual capacity or anything, uh, or it might be more of an appeal to the reader's emotion rather than their intellect, and it is of a more of a colorful style of writing, and the colorful style of writing is used with more anecdotes, quotations and descriptions might be seen in soft news, but that might not happen in hard news where we state exact facts. But it is not the case with soft news. While reading the soft news, you might see that the topics might be a bit old, or it might be like kind of descriptive news. It might not be of current relevance or anything, but they are interesting, and also it'll have kind of quotations, descriptions, and these are what you need to know about soft news. So we discussed about the two types of news, hard news and soft news. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. We are now going to discuss an important part of the news structure. Okay, so the news story structure is what you need to know, and it's of a very great importance while you prepare a news or a newspaper report or something. Okay, so the news story structure, the new items that appear in newspapers are also called news stories. Okay, so what we see in the news reports, that can also be called as news stories. A news story is normally written in inverted pyramid style. That is, the most important facts come first, followed by the other facts in order of significance. So, what we have to like keep in our mind is that the term inverted pyramid style. Okay, the inverted pyramid style is one important term because, well, while we read the newspapers, we see that the style that they follow is like common style that they follow is of an inverted pyramid. So what is an inverted pyramid structure? So before we read the details, we'll see what an inverted pyramid structure is. This is an inverted pyramid structure. Okay, so while reading the news, if you like concentrate on the structure of the news, we can see that it begins with a lead. Okay, so every time we read a news, what is the most important factor in the news, that will be given in the first sentence. Okay, so when that happened, or what happened, when it happened, where it happened, why did it happen, such kind of information or data that is the most important, it will be given in the first few sentences, and later on we'll see a detailed description of the event, what has happened. That we'll see in the body of the news structure or the news story, that is a detailed description of what has happened, and then we'll have the conclusion of what the story is. So we'll go on to what an inverted pyramid structure is. Okay. And now we are going to look what are the details that are to be included in this news story structure. So we saw that the news story structure is written in the form of like an inverted pyramid structure, and this inverted pyramid structure consists of three areas. That is, a lead form will be there, and the body of the news story will be there, and there will be a conclusion. So in the lead, that is the first few sentences of a news story, what should we or what details must be included in the first form of this sentences. So these are the basic elements of a news story that can be found by asking and trying to find answers to these six basic questions. Okay, so these are the questions which must, when the reader reads the news, they have to get an answer to these six basic questions while reading the lead of the news story. So these are the six questions. What? So if an event happened, they have to know what event has happened and when it has happened, or where, at which place it happened, and who was the person involved in that event, why did this happen, and how did the event happen. So these are the basic elements of the news story that the person has to know while reading a news story. And talking about the inverted pyramid structure in detail, we know that, or you have to know that the most journalism historians say that this model was developed during the American Civil War. Okay, so the thing is that the newspaper correspondents during that time were in the field. They sent their dispatches by telegraph, and while sending this, they had this thing in their mind that they were afraid that the system would malfunction, or that the enemy would cut the wires, or like that in some manner they would lose the information they were intending to send the people. Okay, so what they did were they squeezed whatever the information or whatever the most important information was, they like squeezed into the first few sentences or the first few paragraphs of the news. Okay, so that's how this model, this inverted pyramid structure, is believed to have been developed during the American Civil War. And this type of writing, that it normally summarize a story in the lead, sorry, it's story in the lead, and present the facts in descending order of importance. Okay, so the story, or they what they are intending to tell, the story or the main thing will be summarized in the lead sentences, that is the first few sentences, and then the facts or the description of the events will be described in the descending order of importance. That is, the important things will be mentioned at first, and later on, what's less relevant, it will be described later on. So this even helps them to even if they want to avoid a few sentences from the last part, or even if they want to avoid some sentences because of the space constraints or something, they could avoid that. Like they could remove the sentences from the last part of the new structure. Okay, and each paragraph presents additional information. That is, the first paragraph begins with the main details, and later on, as the paragraph increases, each paragraph presents additional information regarding the names, description, quotations, conflicting viewpoints, explanations, and background data. Okay, the primary advantage of having this inverted pyramid structure is that if someone stops reading a story after only one or two paragraphs, the person will learn the story's most important details. That is, even if he didn't read the complete story or the complete news, a news story structure, he'll understand what the news is intending, or what the news is speaking. Okay, so what the person has described in the news, that he'll get it from the first few sentences itself. And then the disadvantage of this inverted pyramid structure is that it might have a repetition of the facts, and it's because in the first few sentences itself we describe the major events that has happened, that we are going to describe. So the events that we first describe, the time, the place, or what event has happened, how it has happened, this might all be kind of repetitive in the later paragraph, because we are giving a complete description or a detailed description of what we have presented in the first few sentences itself. So that is one disadvantage of this inverted pyramid structure, the thing of repetition. And so these are the basic concepts of a new story structure. So thank you all for your time.